The title of this talk is Mother Teresa and the F word. I've been trying to work with the idea that I often walk around with this mental bubble that thinking of myself as Mother Teresa, being kind to listening to people, being generous and compassionate. And then something happens that pisses me off, and I just get kind of blindsided and start using the F word, and or other words too. This was a question to me, and in my reading I started running across stuff that helped me understand that. And one is this essay called Anger and the Gentle Life. So, and this is by Adrian von Plum, and it's in a very old anthology from the 80s called, it's about East-West approaches to psychotherapy. It's called Awakening the Heart. But this particular chapter caught my eye. So I'm going to read a few quotes from this and then comment on them. Our aim in this article is to understand how we may better live and experience human gentleness, culminating in a gentle presence to ourselves and others. The word gentleness points to an attitude. Expressions like a gentle gesture, a gentle word, a gentle approach, are all said of human behavior that expresses certain inner feelings or attitudes. One can also speak about a gentleman. Think about that English word. It seems to indicate that gentleness can become a characteristic of a person as a whole and not merely of some of his expressions. Gentleness can become a lasting attitude, affecting or transforming one's personality. Gentleness directs itself to something or someone in a distinctive way. It implies a special relation of a person to himself, to others, to things. What is it that evokes this gentleness? Gentleness is usually enkindled by something that is precious but vulnerable. Everything that appears fragile and vulnerable, and at the same time precious, in some way seems to evoke gentleness. A sick person, a child, a pregnant woman, the victim of an accident, all that is small and somehow precious. A baby, a newborn puppy, an old woman emaciated by age and sickness. Yet also something large and powerful can evoke gentleness. A person can feel gentle about the boss of a large company who is all bluster and no bite. Gentleness is not evoked by the impressive function and power of the boss, but by the vulnerability of inner endearing traits that hide behind a facade of strength. Greatness evokes gentleness insofar as it refers to the vulnerability of hidden, precious qualities that one knows to be a deeper characteristic of the person. For behind each one's strength is hiding a person in need of love, understanding, and appreciation. Today on the bus, there was a lady who I judged in my own mind, who I called in my own mind a tweaker lady. She was loud and obnoxious, and the bus driver told her to be quiet a couple of times, but she knew that every other bitch on the bus was trying to steal her boyfriend, and it was very unpleasant. I got off the bus where I was planning to get off, but I made a very loud, sarcastic comment to the driver as I was exiting. Something like, maybe you need a playground monitor for this group of kids you're driving, or something like that. But I did it, as the French say, the esprit d'escalier, something you say as you're exiting the stairs. And maybe it was a little uncourageous because the doors were open on the bus and I was fairly safe as I was getting off. Anyway, I was furious. I was angry, to use the real word, angry. And yet, what about this gentleness stuff? How do the two live together? That's the thing I'm trying to work with. How do you be Mother Teresa and still use the F word once in a while? Now, from a Buddhist point of view, it's important to be gentle and to be safe and to make sure that other people are safe. In the case of this woman on the bus, I wasn't so sure whether other people were safe or whether I myself was safe. But being older and having a big stick in my hand, I felt like I didn't feel any direct threat. But I was very, very pissed at her behavior. And I think it has something to do also with whenever someone who's drunk gets on a bus, I have a very strong gut reaction to that, because I even feel a blush sometimes because I'm reacting to my own shame at the times I did the same thing. Woke up at the end of the line, late at the last bus, in some city I didn't know. Little stuff like that. But also, this strong movements between profanity and then sentimentality and weepiness that drunks do when they're drunk in public or even private. And it gets to me. So again, the question is anger and the gentle life. He's talking here about seeing the vulnerability. And he gives that example of, you may know a big aggressive male CEO type who's all bluster, and you know him to be bluster, and so you know there's vulnerability, and you see through it. You can be gentle because you know there's a gentleness in that person. It's very much harder when it's some angry man in a huge truck tailgating you. That's another time when Mother Teresa thinks about the F word. From a Buddhism has a whole different slant on anger. And first, the Western slant, Euro-American slant is, this is a hydraulic problem. You need to let off steam. If you let off steam, and it's a very old 19th century analogy, if you let off steam, that's what you're supposed to do with anger. Let it out, let it go, all the therapeutic cliches. That's not so true in Buddhist cultures, where the harmony of the group situation is much more important than any individual's right to act out or to, I can use any word I want, I can say anything I want, I'm guaranteed by the Constitution, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't work in Buddhism. It doesn't work at all. You may know, if you have ever watched a fight escalate, that the mere use of profanity can sometimes lose the argument. You called my mother what? And off we go. That's fighting words. If you can express your displeasure, anger, without calling names and without being harsh, that is, without calling names, like you don't say, you stupid son of a bitch, which is a little harsh, or some of the Anglo-Saxon words. If you use those, you've lost the argument, but if you can keep to refraining from name calling and still say what you think needs to be said to the other person, like, keep your mouth shut, you're making this whole bus unsafe, feel unsafe. Unless you can say that, there has to be a way of saying that. And I've told the story before about the Dalai Lama. He was in a big outdoor thing at the Waikiki Shell. It's a big outdoor, not stadium, but venue, and it was a summer night, and someone asked him with all respect for all living beings, what about, it was something about eating meat or something. And so he kind of made his way through the history of that. And remember that vegetarianism was an innovation of Chinese Buddhism. So Indian Buddhism and Tibetan do not have a prohibition against meat. But anyway, so he explained some of that, and then he said, but the middle way, it's always the middle way, and once in a while, and he slapped at his forehead, he said, once in a while, a mosquito isn't too big a thing. And everyone laughed, because that was an example of, we all swat at something that touches our forehead or buzzes in our ear. We naturally move away from it. So there is room in the middle way. So it's part of our practice to figure this out, how to not get run over, how to keep yourself and your family and your neighborhood safe, and still move in this gentleness. That's our big thing to figure out, or one of the big things.